Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. Great to have you with us on the program today. As mentioned, back with us, one of our favorite guests, Robert Gallant. He transcends the typical octogenarian. The Wall Street Journal featured him playing volleyball, taking Zumba lessons, and living an active lifestyle while helping others in his community do the same, encouragingly referring to it as meaningful aging. We'll talk about that on today's program. His 5 novels are byproducts of a life well lived, dedicated to family, a prosperous career as an engineer for 40 years at Dow Chemical, and continuous learning drawn from environmental studies, travels, and social involvement. He's also a very popular motivational speaker, and on today's program, he'll be sharing secrets to healthy living and a long life. Robert Gallant back with us on the show. Robert, great to have you with us on the program. Looking forward to this today.
Thank you, Rick. I've enjoyed our previous conversations. You're just an expert at providing information that's both interesting and valuable to people. And I'm 81 years old, but I've utilized some of your insights.
And I use all of your insight, and we'll talk about that in a second on the program. Your keys to healthy living, and you've got 5 keys that you follow through every day that are crucial to people, and we'll talk about that. I want to catch up. I mentioned the 5 novels, and you've been on the program talking about all of them. Information, by the way, available at robertgallant.com. You can go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Link on to get information on all the books. You're working on a new book, Alpha and Omega. We're going to follow more with Chesney Barrett. Give us just sort of a thumbnail on where that stands, and I understand you're a couple months away from actually probably going to production.
Yeah, probably about 5 months because of my obsession with wanting to do all of the research necessary to make sure that I can give the person not only a suspenseful thriller, but also unique insights into the particular area where the program takes place, or the cultures, or the technology issues, any of those things. I want them to walk away saying, gee, I learned some things that I'm real glad I had the opportunity to learn.
Well, that's one of the nice things about all of the books. You've got very strong characters. Chesney Barrett has been there, and we've talked about her development throughout the series. And we also learn a lot about the environment, what they're going through, and actually the environment in Louisiana. In this book, talking about the Smoky Mountain Forestry Service, and there's a large animal there, there's a murder. This really is a new venue for Chesney, and it's going to be fascinating to watch this whole story unfold.
Yes, it's very interesting because I got the concept for it, and I just pacing around the house or riding my exercise bike, I wrote mentally the first 5 chapters, and then I suddenly said, you haven't put a word of this yet on the computer. You darn well better do that. So I came in and I did that, and then I said, I got a problem here. I know the last part of the story. I know these first 5 chapters, but how am I going to make the jump and keep the reader totally intrigued in what the dickens is going to happen next? And so for a couple of weeks, I just paced the floor again. And I suddenly said, aha, I got it. I know what to do. So after I did that, then I got going, and I needed one more aha. And I finally got that aha. And I said, okay, now I'm ready to start from the beginning and go all the way through it and see how I feel about it.
Is that the best way to work? Sometimes you force yourself, I'm going to sit and I'm going to figure this out, and I'm not going to get out of this chair until I do. And other times you just sort of let the story come to you. I get the impression you rather maybe be exercising and let it come to you naturally rather than force the story along.
Yes, when I get bogged down, instead of staying at the computer and trying to pound it out,
yeah,
I like to just start, I wander around the house walking, and I'm thinking about it. Now, the negative of that is sometimes my stupid brain wakes up at 2 a.m. and says, I've been thinking about this. Could we wait until morning to do this? But it's not about to stop. And so there are nights that I don't get much sleep simply because it's decided I want to talk about it now. But that works very well for me. I am going to sit here and I'm going to pound this out on the computer until I got it. I like to walk around. I think the exercise stimulates my brain. You get more blood flowing to your brain
Yes.
during that time.
Robert Gallant, our guest on This Week in America, author. Information available at his website, robertgallant.com. Robert Gallant books available, of course, at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can go directly to Robert's website by linking on through our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Talking about it as he shares his secrets to healthy living and a long life. Besides a prolific author, he's a motivational speaker of note. And we're going to talk about longevity on the program today, and it's interesting, and we can tell your enthusiasm for writing the books. This is not something that you started in your 20s. This is something you started later in life, and one of the reasons you really feel that you've stayed sharp mentally and physically over the years is what this entails by writing the books. Talk about that, because you really stepped out of your comfort zone to begin writing these in the first place, didn't you?
Yes, and you're exactly right. After retiring, I had always wanted to write novels, but every time I could sit down and start with, I said, "Oh, this is going to take too much time away from my family, my job, other things that are going on." So after I retired, I told my wife, "I know what we're going to do. Rather than sitting around watching TV, we're going to go work on novels." And she was very good at this. She was a big reader of women's mystery novels. And so we would go together to the location and we'd research them together and we'd talk about them. And as I told you before, I wrote my first pass on my first novel, showed it to her, and she immediately told me, "If you're going to have a significant woman in this story, do not make her dependent upon some manly hero. She has to have the capabilities to influence that story herself." And so I tore it up and I created Chesney Barrett then. And I'll tell you, that just dramatically improved the storyline. Chesney just brought a new perspective to it, new opportunities, new character development opportunities. So it was a great combination together.
Yeah, and I think that's why the character of Chesney has resonated so well, because it's this young, vibrant woman that's her own individual personality. She's not following in the footsteps. Travis Weld is in the book, a governmental agent, and we've talked about that in past programs. By the way, past shows are available at thisweekinamerica.us. You can link on and watch the YouTube version or listen to the iTunes version. In some of your speaking, you've written a couple articles on this, on longevity. You've mentioned you're 81 years old and you're enjoying growing older. And I mentioned in the open, meaningful aging. So often people get to a certain spot and they feel like, okay, it's all downhill from there. You really rejected that, didn't you? I mean, these are like very active times for you.
Yes, I concluded, well, there's a couple assets to being old. One, I'm no longer working or so forth. I've got the time to work on things that I'd love to work on. And second, the beauty now is I never lose a race, because just running in a race is a victory of itself. So when you're 81 years old, you can get away with running in races, finishing fourth, and everybody says, "Wow, that is really good." So it is very important. Exercise gives you the ability to take on these things with the energy and enthusiasm and the mobility that you need, but your willingness to get out of your comfort zone and take on something that you say, "I'm not sure I can be successful at this," and say, "I'm going to be successful at it. And if I'm not, what I learn will be valuable the next time I step out of my comfort zone." So these are two things that I strongly recommend. One, exercise every day, because it is fundamental to you having the health and the energy to be able to do these other things, to step out of your comfort zone and take on different things. And the other is, don't be afraid to fail, because failure is often one of your best learning curves. And a good example is I've talked to studios representatives about two of my books. do you want to make a movie out of this? And a few of them have said, we're going to think about it. We'll get a copy of the book and we're going to think about it. It might be a year before we get back to you. And I was thinking to myself, okay, if it's a year and they come back and say, yeah, we're going to do it, and then it's 4 years later before the movie is out.
Yes.
I'll be darned if I want to die before my movie comes out. So I'm going to make sure I'm healthy so that I'll still be around and able to enjoy the opportunity. And if it doesn't take place, I have learned things that I didn't know before. I've forced myself to do things that I said, oh man, you sure you want to take this on? And it's been beautiful. So
it's interesting with the writing, because besides just writing, the discipline of writing, the creativity that goes into that, once you've written the book, you've got the whole marketing world that opens up, and you talk about meeting with executives from film studios. You need to figure, okay, now that I've got the book, how do I get it published? How do I market the book? That's whole area of new skill sets that you had to try to conquer during that period, didn't you?
yes, and it's a very good point. It is much easier for me to write a book
Yes.
than to sell it. I understand writing real well. I did a lot of writing when I was in my career. I got books published on technology, articles published on technology. Writing to me was fun to do, and the strength of it, the reason I was so successful was because I could take complicated technology and explain it in a way that the person understood it and could utilize it in their jobs. And that's why I got over 50 articles published in technical journals. So when it came to then writing one about a mystery novel or suspense story, I took the same approach. I first asked myself a question like, what if? And then you said, yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. Now, how do you solve that problem? How do you overcome that difficulty? So it was an easy fit. But I wasn't a salesperson by nature. I mean, my tendency was to focus with a group, come up with a solution to it, and the people who were good at selling then took that side of it and did it. So this has been a real experience, but I'm really glad to go through it. Win or lose, it's a win to do it.
We're talking with Robert Gallant, our guest on This Week in America. His website is robertgallant.com. Author of 5 books. We're talking about his work as a motivational speaker and author. He shares secrets to healthy living and a long life. Information available by going directly to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and you can link on. It's interesting when you talk about exercise. You live in Michigan. Michigan has bad winters. If you were looking for excuses not to get out and exercise, you could find them. Yet you're out every day. Talk about the determination. Once you decide I'm going to exercise, you really need to follow through with that, don't you?
Yes, and I have to give credit to the woman who's been my fitness trainer at the community center. She told me, when you first get up in the morning, drink a glass of water and do 10 minutes of exercise. And it has to include intense enough stuff that you get your heart rate up and going strong. And if you do that every day, 7 days a week, your metabolism will get at a higher level for the entire day. You lose half a pound a month just doing that. You don't have to change anything else. But the beauty is I get through doing that. I eat breakfast, get around, head out for the community center, and my metabolism is already saying, I'm ready to go at it. I'm ready to go at it. Let's get in there and do something. In fact, people have asked me, how come you're always smiling when you come in the morning? And I said, well, when I wake up, I look to my left. If I'm not in a grave, I look to my right. If I'm not in a hospital bed, I jump up and say, all right, it's going to be great.
We got another day out of this. So you get up and you jump out of bed and you go enjoy it. Something that's interesting, and we're rapidly running out of time. We'll have Robert back on many more programs, but it's interesting, the social aspect of this as well. So often we decide, okay, I'm going to go out on my own and run, or I'm going to get the treadmill and spend the time by myself. You really found the social aspect has really helped you, encouraged you, and made it fun for you to get out and to exercise.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It is essential that you never want to become so wrapped up in yourself that you don't spend time helping those around you. And when you do that, the day just blossoms. It becomes a beautiful day. They turn around and do the same thing for you. I talked with a guy one time who he had lost 100 pounds and quit smoking because he didn't want to set a bad example for his son. And, talk about an inspirational story. What a beautiful story. So it is. You want to make every day better for the people around you if you possibly can.
I'm sure there are many people at the community center where you work out on a daily basis that you may not even know it, that you're inspiring them just because you're there, you're smiling, you're going through this, and you're basically reaching out and helping them. May not be conscious of it, but reaching out and helping them like, well, this guy's in his early 80s and he's in great shape. So it's really, I'm sure, an inspiration to people.
Yes, I had a person tell me, I listened to what you said about how you go about exercising first thing in the morning and everything else. And he said, I've been doing that now for about the last 2 months, and I've never felt this good. And he said, so, thank you. Well, that's a great feeling to
Yes.
say, hey, I helped that person out. And it is. Sometimes it takes me 10 minutes to pass through in the weight room to where the weights are because I'm stopping to chat to somebody and saying, oh, wow, you're here early this morning. That's great. You're working out already. You're ahead of me. And talking to others and they talk to me. So it's fun. That's a highlight of my day is just talking to others who are also trying very hard to build a very healthy lifestyle.
Couple minutes left in the program. One of the other guiding principles, and you just touched on that, is having some fun. Every day do something that's fun. And I get the impression you don't miss a day where you're not enjoying yourself. Explain why that is so important, because so often we sort of get in our little funk. The weather's not good. We've lost another friend. I've got a doctor's appointment next week and I'm worried about it. But it really is important to stay positive and to enjoy life, isn't it?
Yes, your point is very, very good because we can all say, oh, this is a tough day. I just don't feel like this stuff, or darn, that one thing I was hoping would work out isn't going to work out and so forth. And you cannot spend time focusing on what isn't going good. You got to focus on what is going good. And I find for me, wow, I've got 3 sons who were very smart in the women that they married, that got successful marriages. I've got 6 grandchildren that I enjoy being around. I had a good career in my job, and I have all these friends at the community center that I interface with. There isn't a reason to walk around saying, poor me, this just isn't a good day. All of them are good days. And if we feel that way, it just becomes part of our routine.
Yeah, just part of your lifestyle. And when Robert's back, we'll talk about the early years, because you very easily early on could have said, life is just difficult. I've been dealt a bad hand here. You had vision problems. You lost an eye. In fact, at one point, they weren't even sure that you're going to survive. Schools turned you down for scholarship because they didn't think with one eye you would be able to keep up. And you've proven everybody wrong. It's Robert Gallant, our guest on the program. Yes, the author who has been with us before. 5 fascinating novels, working on a 6th called Alpha and Omega. He's also a very popular motivational speaker. We were talking about his secrets to healthy living and a long life. And Robert, we look forward to having you back on the program. Keep working on Alpha and Omega. We need to see what Chesney is up with, and we'll have you back to talk about that and many other things. It is always a pleasure, sir. Thank you for being with us on the program.
Thank you so much, Rick. This is always, it makes my whole day fun.
Well, I've been looking forward to this for a week and a half, and the date's finally here. It's always fun to catch up with Bob. Robert Gallant, our guest on the program, his website is robertgallant.com. His books are all available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and of course, you'll find more information available, a link on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. We're back after these messages. Don't go away.
Thank you.